Hey, this is Reverend Bill. And wow. Many years ago, there was a show called Later with Bob Costas. You may know Bob Costas as a sports commentator, but he actually was a great interviewer too. And I used to, when I worked theater, I used to stay up late at night after I closed the theaters and watch him. And one show, he was interviewing a woman. Don't remember her name. It's probably better I don't know her name. So I don't want to misquote anybody, but I believe she was head of a studio, and I remember she was talking about. I believe she had um, a chance to make the movie Ghost, and she passed it up to do a movie. I think it was Thief of Hearts or something. Anyway, they were getting into discussion, and my story is probably a little bit off because this is back in like the late 80s, early 90s. So excuse me if my story is a little bit skewed, but it's going off a long memory. Anyway, and he said something to her like, well, that must have been your biggest regret. And she said, you'd think so, wouldn't it? And he goes, oh, well, what was your biggest regret? And she said, my abortion. And he stopped and he turned to the TV and he said, people, I prepared quite a long time for this interview. Now she's the head of the studio. And he said, and I always make index cards. And he held up a bunch of index cards because he was always very, very well prepared. He was a great interviewer. And he goes, but sometimes you come across something like this and you just get all these index cards and you put them aside and you kind of go, you found something here and you just go, you put your preparation aside and you just say to yourself, okay, I'm just going to go for it. And he said, I just got to skip my preparation and I just got to go ask questions in this direction. He said, so I got to go. If you don't mind, let's find out about this regret. And he went in and he spent the whole, whatever it was, half an hour discussing her abortion. That's how I feel a little bit like this. I actually had a show prepared. I thought it was a pretty good show, UFOs and a few other things, movie reviews. And then I come across this horrible story, very, very earth-shaking story about Charlie Kirk. And of course, I'm not going to ignore that. So I'm putting all my preparation aside, and I got to obviously talk about this very, very upsetting news regarding Charlie Kirk. So I just threw together some stuff, and I'm going to just hop right into this, and I'll go into the other prep. I did some other show, but there's no way that I'm not going to talk at a great length about this very. I think it's a game changer, to be quite honest with you. So let's share the screen, and I'm just gonna just talk about Charlie Kirk because I just don't know how to do anything else at this point. So as I know, Charlie Kirk was only 31 years old. I mean, I'm 60. So, that's to me, that's a kid. I mean, he did so much. And again, I didn't do a lot of prep here because it just happened a few hours ago. Charlie Kirk to me was, just someone I saw. Geez, when I first moved to Atlanta was when I just first started watching him. So that must have been maybe close to 5 years ago. I saw him with Candace Owens. I think they were doing Turning Point, I think it's called. They were trying to get young kids to start following, Donald Trump and the Republicans. They're going around to schools together. I was very impressed. Again, he must have been only like 25, 26 years old. And it was good to see some fresh blood, both him and Candace, getting the young kids. I was listening to them and made me wish they were my children, the two of them going out there and facing college crowds. And a lot of them were being very assaulted. I mean, spit on. Especially Candace was at one point being spit on. It was very, and she kept on going in. I thought they were both very, very courageous. And I guess Candace at a point she left, and Charlie continued on his own. And the thing that impressed me about both of them, but Charlie most recently, is that he thrived on debate. He would just line them on up, and never would he shy away from open debate. He was always, if you disagree, front of the line, get the front of the line. Uh, which was, I mean, I always liked a good, healthy debate too. But at some point, you just get so tired of arguing the same points over and over and over again. Um, it just it gets to be too much. You feel like, gosh, do I have to, argue with another one of these mutton heads, the same stupidity coming out and spewing them out the same stupid thing. And, at some point, let's be honest, you're listening to these people spew the same stuff. And you're like, do you guys ever take a moment to actually think with this stuff? I mean, a lot of the times, these people, they don't even seem like they got a rational thought in their head. And you get exasperated. You feel like you're talking to like a fire hydrant. Um, because they don't bring intelligent arguments to the table. And you get frustrated and you just want to dope slap them. Charlie Kirk wasn't like that. He would sit back and he would talk normally. He would always have his patience, and that's the thing that was really amazing. You would hear them time after time after time and time again. He would never lose his cool. He would just talk normally to them. And that was a gift. That was a gift. It's hard enough to find someone who can. There's a lot of people out there that actually can rationally think things, but cannot translate them across. So you cannot actually explain things to them. I know people like that. They might be brilliant, but they can't translate it over. My son's like that, by the way. He can figure something out in a second, but he can't explain it to you. It's just he can figure it out, but he can't. He can figure a Rubik's cube out, but don't ask him to explain it to you. He can't, for some reason, translate his knowledge to you very well. But he can figure it out in a heartbeat. Charlie Kirk had the way of explaining things to you so that he could translate his knowledge to you, which is a gift. And then on top of that, he had the patience of a saint. I mean, he would. I think I can translate very well, but I can translate it maybe once or twice or three times. And by the fourth time, I'm starting to dope slap people around. I lose patience. Charlie Kirk never seemed to lose patience. I was there was a I saw him once with a gay person that was talking to him about guns or something, and it was almost like everything that he was against, ethically and morally, but he was asking about guns seriously. And Charlie Kirk was explaining to him about how he needs to get a gun because the guy was feeling insecure about the fact that he was gay walking around and maybe he needed self-defense. And again, this guy was like everything that Charlie stood against, yet Charlie was giving him advice about self-defense with guns. And I honestly admired Charlie Kirk for taking time out to explain to this guy how he could best defend himself with a gun, even though the guy was standing for everything Charlie Kirk personally was probably against. Charlie Kirk actually was helping him, giving him gun advice. I don't know. To me, that's kind of a rare thing. That even though this guy was pretty much 95% against everything Charlie Kirk was against, he was still helping him with gun advice. I don't know. And now he's not with us anymore. So it's kind of sad, really. He had, a great existence. There was no hate in this guy. I know that the left is coming out now saying that he deserved it. We're going to get into that a little later on. Anyone who thinks this man was full of hate needs to watch his videos. He was not for hate. There wasn't any hate in this guy whatsoever. He was in freedom of speech, freedom of whatever. He just did not want to be shut down. He just thinks everyone should have a right to say what they wanted, to do what they wanted. He believed in the amendments, the freedom of anything. He was anything but hate. He was of the idea that censorship was bad. He was from the old school that we were brought into, and the Gen X people know what I'm talking about. He was from the old school that I may disagree with everything you say, but I will die for your right to say it, which is forgotten now, but that was the mantra we were brought up in. And that is, this is a free country. And we may disagree with any, again, we're going to disagree. We could disagree with everything you say, but we'll die for your right to say it. This whole thing now about, hate speech and all this stuff, silencing it, that's censorship. That's not what this country's about. And that's all liberal ideas. And, again, it's ironic that when you watch movies, it's always in the movies, it's the conservative that are doing the censorship, when in reality, it's not. In reality, it's the liberals, it's the socialists and the left-leaning that want to silence people. It's a good Christian conservative that want the freedoms. So anyway, we lost a good one, a very good one. And he was one of the hopes, the bright hopes that we had for the future. And you took him away, guys. Sad. All right, what else we got to hear about him? Here we have an overview of the shooting site. I'm not a military guy. I'm not really well versed on strategy. I've worked with people that were. I know enough to know that this sniper was. I'm not even sure he's cutting a sniper. 200 feet away, I worked with some guys that were snipers, and just from talking to them about various things, in my very limited knowledge, and it's very, very limited, I wouldn't think 200 feet is a difficult shot. Again, working with just the guys that I worked with that were military, I worked with snipers, and just from hearing them talk, my guess would be that 200 feet is not a very difficult shot. I'm not sure they would even be technically a sniper at that point. I'm talking about something I know nothing about. But 200 feet doesn't sound like it would be all that difficult. I mean, I don't know. But I did see people on the cell phone that were that actually saw him before he shot. They were questioning him. Hey, did he just run across that roof? What is he doing up there? So he couldn't have been that stealthy if people were catching him with a cell phone. But somehow he got away. My thought is he probably had help if he got away. I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about here, but I got to think if people caught him on a cell phone, he wasn't a professional. If passersby saw him on a cell phone, I got to think he wasn't a pro, because pros probably wouldn't be caught with passersby on a cell phone. Just saying. And he got away. So if he got away and he wasn't that good, if he wasn't that good, people passing by got him on a cell phone and he got away, I'm thinking maybe he had help. Just guessing. I don't know. But in any point, anyway, if he did have help, then I think he's going to be caught because he's not that good. I mean, how could he be that good if he got caught on a cell phone? I know nothing about what I'm talking about. I'm just connecting the dots from just some guy sitting at home in his studio. But I got to think he had help. And if he had help, people talk. This can't be some professional hit. Why would a professional hit a 31-year-old political speaker anyway? I mean, it's not like he's, president or I don't know. Sounds to me like it's just some crazy liberal, in which case I would think he'd be caught. Anyway, we'll see. It's only been a few hours. Next thing I want to talk about is that some feminist website, which is Jezebel, somebody said he paid this website of witches to put a curse on Charlie Kirk 2 days before he was assassinated. I don't know if they're taking credit for it, I guess. I don't know. They're boasting that a reporter paid witches to curse him, and then 2 days later he was assassinated. I don't know this website. I don't know these witches. As you know, I've got a very big history with witchcraft and Satanists and voodoo and all that garbage. It's not garbage, by the way, it's legit. I don't know about this, though. Here at Jezebel, we're about to find out if there's a spell for that. Now it's ethical. Now, is it ethical? Because we know how witches are ethical. Now, is it ethical to curse a man I've never met? Probably not. Oh, yeah, witches are all about ethics and morals. But is it unethical to let him keep talking? Yeah. So here we are in the gray area. Yeah, that's what they live. To ruin his day with the collective feminist power of Etsy cover. Okay, let's just cut to the. All right, let me just give you a cruel reality. First of all, the reality is witches are evil. They're evil beyond belief. They have no ethics. So first, let's get this out there. Real witches and wizards have no ethics. They are evil beyond belief. They do evil for evil's sake. They never, the idea of ethics is beyond, I can't even tell you how evil they are. They do evil for evil's sake. They never tell the truth. Ethics do not enter into it. And they will torture babies just to hear them scream. There's no, this whole thing is just beyond laughable to me. Witches are nothing but satanic. They have no consciences. They have no feelings. If a mother is a witch, she will gladly just kill her own child just to hear the screams. They have no human conscience, feelings, nothing. They are just pure evil. So this whole story is laughable to me. They have no conscience. There's nothing. Witches are pure evil. End of story. There's no getting through to a witch. They have no compassion. They have no conscience. They're evil beyond evil. They're evil beyond anything you've seen in a movie. Okay, done. If your family member is a witch, do not never try to appeal to their human side. They don't have it. Done. So that's just a blanket statement about witch. I'm going to analyze this, okay? But let's just start with that. There's no goodness in any kind of witch. They're in league with Satan. That's it. Done. Now, getting on to this nonsense. Any real witch would not advertise. So I don't know what this is. This is a bunch of women selling nonsense online. Any real witch would not advertise this. They hide in the shadows. They do not advertise. If they did, I would never be in league. I would not. If this was a real witch, I would stay far from them. You want no dealings with witches. This is just, I don't know what this is. Maybe they think they're witches. Maybe they went and they got a book on how to be a witch and they're sitting around with candles and they're all wearing their goth makeup and they're changing their names to, Hilda and Helga and all this kind of stuff. And they're pretending to be witches. They might be teenagers. I don't know. But they're not real witches. They don't conjure Satan or anything like that. Maybe they think they are. I don't know what this is all about, but they're not the real witches that I fought. They're not the ones that send demons into your house in the middle of the night attacking you. No, I don't know what this is, but you do not want anything to do with real witches, and real witches won't sit around worrying about ethics and morals. No. If you ever see a real witch, have no dealings with them. And again, as I mention all the time, real witches do not run around with makeup. Real witches are the people sitting next to you in your pew at church. They're the ones coming over with your bake sales. They're the ones serving your, pancakes at the IHOP. They're people you least expected. And yes, they're the people in your family and your next door neighbors. Those are the witches. You'll find out. I mean, just watch. Be careful. Never let your guard down. They're the people that want to get close to you. Once they get close to you, then they are the ones that sneak into your life, and they're the ones that cause chaos. So yeah, they don't advertise on websites. No, no. Anyway, moving along. Here at Jezebel, we're here to find out if it's ethical to curse a man. Oh, please, please. Oh yeah. Now another thing, MSNBC. This is just absolutely abhorrent. They're blaming him. They're saying it could be because of the people he brought in. This guy here, this bald man to the right, I don't know his name, but he suggested that it could have been one of his supporters who was so excited that he fired off a gun in celebration and maybe it hit him by mistake. This is what we're getting from the liberals. And then another one says, I always go back to hateful thoughts. They lead to hateful words, which lead to hateful actions. You can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts. You can't start with these awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and expect awful actions to take place. In other words, he brought it on himself. When you say hateful things, you bring about hateful actions, and this is the result. In other words, blame him. See, this is censorship. He brought it on himself because he said hateful things, you bring on hateful actions, and this is the result. He brought it on himself. Well, this is more trying to do censorship, right? First of all, he never said anything hateful. If you think he said hateful things, you never watched his videos or listened to him. You're blaming him for speaking out. Censorship. Again, censorship. This is what the liberals are bringing up. He brought it on himself for talking about freedom of speech. You talk about freedom of speech, this is what happens. You get shut down. Unbelievable. They're blaming the victim. They're blaming the victim. And they're saying that maybe his own people caused it by shooting off guns in celebration. What a blatantly evil thing to say. And then on top of that, blaming him for speaking out for freedom of speech. Well, you can be saying evil things and hateful things, hateful, evil things are going to happen to you. This is what we're dealing with. And this is really, really, really bad. And then, if that's not bad enough, what does the governor of Illinois, why did he even bother speaking? Who cares about the governor of Illinois? Why did he have to get involved? But he's got to come out for no reason. It happened in Utah. It did not happen in Illinois. But somehow this guy's got to come out and say political violence, unfortunately, has been ratcheting up in this country. I think there are people who are fomenting in this country. I think the president's rhetoric often foments. In other words, it's the Republicans starting with the president. They're starting it, and he's continuing with it. They're talking about conservative values, and they're getting people riled up. It's all this conservative talk. They're getting people all upset. If they just were liberal like us, it wouldn't happen. Again, blaming freedom of speech. If they just let us do what we want to do and not argue against us, well, we'd all be happy, wouldn't we? We'd all be happy liberals with all this homosexuality and transgenderism and all the crazy liberal ideas would all be fine. But no, they've got to have all these Christian ideas and freedom of thought and fighting censorship. They're bringing it on themselves. We wouldn't be shooting them if they just saw our way of thinking. It's ridiculous, and then Obama comes out and says, hey, let's not rush about things. We don't really know what the motive is here. We don't really know what his reasons are. Well, hold on for a second. We must, because suddenly all your men are coming out here, all your liberals are coming out, and they seem to know what it's about. They seem to know what it's about. They're already saying it's because you opened your big mouth and wouldn't let us do what we want to do. So your liberals seem to know what it's all about. So why, Barry? Why don't you know what it's about? Your buddies up here know what it's about. So Barry, why don't you know what it's about? He's still confused. Maybe he needs to talk to his constituents. because he's confused. He doesn't know what it's about. Let's not rush into things. Well, I don't know. Let's just all go say a prayer for him. Oh, we can't because we tried that in Congress. And Lauren Boebert, she tried to have a moment for prayer, but then no, couldn't allow that. The moment for prayer was shut down by the liberals. Nope, can't have that either. Nope, they got a moment of silence, but we said to some prayer, oh no, God can't have anything to do with this. No, 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 we can't do that. We can't even let this young man who we shot down in cold blood, and then we blamed him. We blamed him for it. We can't even give him a prayer. Nope, nope, not allowed. Nope, nope, nope. We'll give him a moment of silence, maybe, but we can't say a prayer for him. Nope, can't do it. And you know that the one person I do like that actually spoke up was Dave Rubin, who was a guy that would sit down. He was honest. He said he will miss debating Charlie Kirk because he said Charlie Kirk was the one guy that he would bring on his show and he would be counterpoint to his point. And they would sit down because Charlie Kirk always sat down and had a spirited debate with them. And afterwards, he'd go out and have a beer and sandwich, and they'd be friends because he was always open to a friendly debate. He never ever ran away, and they would talk. And he was always a fair, honest guy to sit down and have a discussion with. So there, I mean, that's what could be better than having your nemesis, for a better word for your nemesis, just to salute you afterwards and saying he was a fair, honest guy who would sit down and would give a spirited debate anytime and would be friends afterwards. And he saluted Charlie Kirk, and he will be missed. Now, this gets me back to two liberal attacks, but basically the girl is obviously a victim of the liberal stance on no bail, and then the horrible loss of a bright. I honestly think he could have been president one day. The way he was starting out, I would have not been surprised at all. I thought he had a very bright future, and I'm very saddened at that. The only thing I can say about him is I'm absolutely sure that he's in heaven right now. And I wasn't so sure to actually ask Jesus, but I don't have to ask Jesus. I know he's there. That would be, I think, an insult to Jesus to even ask. I know he's in heaven now, unless he did something that I'm not aware of. I really don't think that's the case. I'm confident Charlie's in a better place right now, and I'll see him one day. But no, I mean, this is just two outrageous liberals. Two occasions where liberals really stuck it to us. I was actually thinking last night, and I'm not kidding you, I was actually thinking about talking about this anyway. But, it's getting to me to a point where I'm beginning to think, is it about time that we actually start to watch our back seriously? I mean, is it really about time that we started to like look around? Is it becoming like an us versus them? And I don't mean us versus them as in color, certainly not. I mean in us like liberals versus conservative. I mean, I don't mean like, any kind of segregation, but are we like supposed to start looking to see like who's a crazy liberal and start watching our back? I mean, I don't think they're particularly any religion or anything. I mean, although they tend to be atheistic, I think it seems to me Christians are usually the ones that are conservative. But I mean, if these at this point, I mean, I think that we should start at least keeping an eye on the crazy liberals and find out who are these blue-haired people that are actually having these ideas. Maybe we should start keeping a record of like who are these crazy liberals, and should we be watching them and making sure that our backs aren't turned to them, because they come in all shapes and sizes and colors, and if we're going to be getting stabbed in the back, um, or getting shot for opening our mouths, maybe we shouldn't be so casual. Maybe we should be eyeing to see who around us has got the nose piercings, who has got the blue hair, who's got the you know the crazy I don't know, the crazy democratic signs, the abortion stuff. Maybe we shouldn't laugh this stuff off. Maybe we should start looking around for the people that are crazy liberals. I got news for you. If I was on the subway and I started seeing a bunch of green haired, blue haired piercings, I don't think I would go near them. I think I would look for the crucifixes. Um, I around here, I would feel very comfortable if I see the born again. If I see around here, you can tell the evangelical born again, the black people with the crucifixes and the babies that look Christian. I'll go hang with them. I don't want the crazy people with the piercings. I mean, the ring noses and all that stuff. I'll stay away from the pink hairs. I'll go with the God fearing people. Sure. I think it's about time that we, maybe the girl on the train saw him and just kind of looked at him and goes, he doesn't look like a God fearing man. I think maybe I will step away from him. Maybe she shouldn't have gone there. Maybe Charlie Kirk shouldn't have gone to colleges. That's where the liberals are. I mean, I'm beginning to think maybe we should start avoiding the liberals. I think that might be a good idea. And I'm not saying it because I'm prejudiced in any way. I'm saying it because I'm beginning to think that I like breathing air. And if you're going to start shooting and stabbing us, I think we should start taking care of ourselves a little bit better. And maybe when you go into a movie theater, maybe you should start looking around at who you're going to sit next to. Maybe you shouldn't sit next to the blue-haired woman with the ring nose. Maybe you want to sit next to the person with the crucifix and the little baby and the wife. Maybe they look safer than the kid with the, whatever the crazy T-shirt with Rosie Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, I don't know. I think we should start looking out for ourselves. When you get into a line in a store, maybe you shouldn't get in line with the pink hairs. Maybe you should go in line with the people with the baby that look like they're Christians. I'm just saying, I'm beginning to think we should get a little bit smarter who we hang with in public places. Makes sense to me. I think it's time that we start thinking about us versus them. They talk about safe spaces. Well, I think Christians should start looking for safe places too. And safe places isn't around the crazy liberals. It's around God-fearing people. So I don't know, my 2 cents. This is the Reverend Bill signing off tonight. Don't worry about Charlie. He's in heaven. Think about the rest of us. We're the ones that stuck here with the crazy people. Talk to you later. If you like this, please like, share, and subscribe. If not, come back later and I'll just try harder next time. Bye.